In DevOps, when you check, you have multiple segments available. In each segment, you're going to cover one particular tool, which will be common for other tools as well in the segment. So the first segment, uh, we can say Git and GitHub. The segment is called source code management or version control system or version control. So what is source code management or version control? Version control. So uh, source code management. Let me explain that particular topic first. So when there is a development activity is happening or a set of developers are working, their intention is to develop an application. To develop an application, they have to write a code, let it be a Java code or Python, a JavaScript, shell script, or anything, or any kind of framework. So in order to store the developed code or keep a copy of a code, the tool the tool which is they are using is source code management tool. In the segment we are going to cover Git and GitHub. Similarly, on the other words, the same segment can be called as version control. Let's say one application is developed and it is being deployed to the production, which is available to your users, end users, they are accessing it. The responsibility not only going to stop there, once the deployment is completed, you're also responsible for frequent updates on the application. You have to constantly upgrade the version. Let's say if you release the first version, within the next 3 months or 6 months, you have to release the next version, version 2, version 3. Constant update is required in order to uh, keep the market availability or to withstand in market, you obviously need to do your upgrades. So when you're doing an upgrade from version 1 to version 2, doesn't mean that you are completely going to get rid out of version 1. For a backup purpose, you have to keep the source code available for version 1. From version 1 to version 3, if you are moving, if you are upgrading, you have to keep a copy of version 2 in a same place. Since it's the same application, you're going to save it, store it in the same place. So this is called as version control. It's like a time machine kind of thing. Even if you go till version 10 or version 11, you can come back to version 1 code and you can revert back to lower version if it is needed. So this is version control. And the main tool what we are using is Git and GitHub. So yesterday on Git and GitHub, on GitHub, I was explaining you about organization. So under one particular organization, you can, under one particular ID or account, you can have multiple organizations. You can be part of multiple organizations. Under organizations, you're going to create a project. Under project, you're going to have repositories. So this is the structure. To give you a simple example simple example to this logic, organization, project, repositories. Consider Dcube. Dcube is an organization. Under Dcube, we are here to learn cloud and DevOps. So you can say it's a project. Under Dcube, I can have multiple projects available, or I can create multiple projects in my GitHub account. So, for example, we are starting the DevOps batch and we are learning it. You can consider it as a project. Going forward, we will be having a classes for full stack developers, Python developers, and we'll be having classes for AWS, Azure separately. So those things will be a separate project. So under organization, I can have multiple projects. So under project, I can have multiple repositories. Uh, so as I said, first project, AWS and DevOps. Under the first project, under AWS and DevOps, now we discussed about shell scripts and Linux commands. So that can be considered as a first repository. So what I'm going to do is under the owner, I'm creating a repository name called shell script. So the name is available, description, sample, shell scripts are available. I want to keep it as a public. In case if I want to lock it, I can keep it as a private so that to whoever I'm going to give access for them, it will be available. For others, it won't be available. When I say public access, whoever have link address, whoever knows the repository address, they can access it. If I make it private, even if they have the link or address of the repository, until I provide access, they won't be able to access the files, which is going to get saved here in the repository. And initialize this repository with add readme file. So what is readme file? Here, the hierarchy, what I said, organization, project, repository. Under Dcube, we are on DevOps, and the first completion, the first practice what we completed is shell script, which is our repository. But people who's gonna join late or people who is pretty new to the organization or pretty new to the concept what we are discussing about. Uh, in case if they want to do a self-learning by just looking at the repository, they need some kind of documentation which will explain the structure of the repository. What is a file we are going to store? What is the purpose of this repository? Why we created it? How we are going to utilize it? So those kind of details can be added in README file. We need to add some more details as well. But going forward, one by one, once we make changes, I will let you know what are the changes or what are the details in what is your responsibility as a DevOps engineer to keep the GitHub available to the developers. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to click on create repository. It is creating. It's created. So as of now, this is the first repository under Dcube Technologies I created, which is shell scripts.